Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss nervous system. So I have divided nervous system into three subdivisions. One, neuron, second, brain, and third, spinal cord. So I'll talk about nervous system, neurons today, the structure and functional unit of nervous system, that is neuron. Before discussing the structure of neuron, I will talk about the functions of nervous system, like what nervous system exactly does in our body. So first, it keeps us informed about the external surroundings. Whatever is happening in your external environment, it is the nervous system which keeps you informed. Second, it is responsible for carrying out all the voluntary actions. Now, what are voluntary activities? Suppose I'm doing my hand like this. I want to walk, I want to jump, I want to do swimming. All these are voluntary activities which is under my will. So basically, it keeps us it is responsible for carrying out all the voluntary actions. Third, it is responsible for carrying out all the involuntary activities. What comes under involuntary activities? Like vasoconstriction, vasodilation, peristalsis, breathing, respiration. All these are involuntary activities. So it is the nervous system which is responsible for carrying out all the involuntary activities. And the fourth thing is that nervous system is responsible for your memory, your intelligence, your logical reasoning. So all this is who is responsible? The nervous system. So first of all, we'll talk about the structure of neuron. So it is the neuron which makes all these functions possible. So what is neuron? It is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Neuron is divided into three parts. See, in the diagram I have drawn the structure of neuron. So neuron is divided into three parts. This part, this is known as cyton or perikaryon. Now this one, this is known as axon, and the last part which is known as axon ending. So these are the three main parts. What are the three main parts? The tips of the dendrites, these dendrites, then cyton and axon. So neurons are divided into three parts. What are the three parts? The dendrites, the axon and the axon and the cyton part. Now what are dendrites? There are finger-like projections. These I have drawn in the diagram. So these are the dendrites. The tips of the dendrites acquire the information. So they acquire the stimulus. Whatever is happening in the external environment, that is acquired by the tips of the dendrites. So they acquire the information and gives to the cyton part. Then cyton takes the information, conveys to your axon part, and then axon conveys to the axon endings. Now at the axon endings, there is a neuron, the dendritic tip of the next neuron. So basically there is a gap here which is known as synaptic cleft. This gap is known as synaptic cleft. And how the information is conveyed from one neuron to the next neuron? It is by a help of some neurotransmitter. So there are neurotransmitter which are released here at the gap. So that neurotransmitter is known as acetylcholine. Break the word, acetylcholine. So this acetylcholine here, the axon endings of this neuron will convey the information to the dendritic tip of the next neuron with the help of this neurotransmitter, that is acetylcholine. And this phenomenon is known as synapse. So synapse is basically, what is synapse? It is a point of contact between the axon ending of one neuron and the dendritic tip of the next neuron. And this information is conveyed by a neurotransmitter which is known as acetylcholine. Now, if you see the structure of neuron are the only cells in our body which have lost the capacity to divide once you are born. So we are born with some billions of neurons, and only that amount of neurons will remain the entire life. As you grow old, or as senescence or aging happens, the amount of these neurons, they fall down actually. They decreases as you do the aging part. That's why there's a loss of memory when you grow old or when you become senescent. Now this neuron, this part, these are the tips of dendrites. So what is the function of dendritic tips? They acquire the information. These dendritic tip conveys to the cyton part. This cyton part conveys to the axon part. Now this is axon. Axon is as a layer which is known as myelin sheath. Axon is covered by a layer which is known as myelin sheath. Therefore, the neurons are known as myelinated nerve fiber. They make it myelinated nerve fiber. There are few neurons in which the myelin sheath is absent, so they are known as non-myelinated nerve fiber, or you can say it myelinated or medullated nerve fiber, and non-myelinated and non-medullated nerve fiber. And then there are few nodes. These are known as nodes of Renwier. There is a special kind of granule here which is known as Nissl granule, and this is the axon ending, and axon ending, I told you that they form a synaptic cleft and they release a neurotransmitter which is known as acetylcholine. So this is the structure of neuron. Let us discuss the 5 marker question which normally is asked based on this neuron. First of all, they can ask you to draw the diagram of neuron. See, now here it is one more important thing. I have seen the student gets confused between neuron and nephron. Please, again I am telling, neuron and nephron, drastically difference. Neuron is the structural and functional unit of nervous system, whereas nephron are the structural and functional unit of kidneys. So that is linked with excretory system. Neuron is linked with your nervous system. So please read it properly, whether they are asking neuron or nephron. So one thing, they can ask you to draw the structure of neuron. Second thing, they can ask 1 markers who acquires the stimulus. Then that you have to write tips of dendrites or dendritic tip. Dendritic tip conveys to which part? Cytone. Cytone conveys to which part? Axon. And name the neurotransmitter released. It is acetylcholine. And name a phenomenon in which the axon ending of one neuron conveys the message to the dendritic tip of the next neuron, that is synapse. So these are few 1 markers questions which they normally ask here. Now next is the reflex arc. See, today I have drawn a schematic representation of reflex arc. When I will talk about spinal cord, then I will explain the same reflex action in the form of a diagram. So today let's discuss what is reflex arc. See, there is one thing which is known as stimulus. Now what is stimulus? Any external change in the environment, that is known as stimulus. It can be anything like throwing a ball, pricking someone, any sensation it can be. So stimulus is acquired by the receptors. Who acquires the stimulus? The receptors. What are receptors? Receptors are the sense organs. So these receptors, they have sensory neuron. These receptors have sensory neuron. Whatever information these receptors take in the form of a stimulus, these sensory neurons takes it to central nervous system. Central nervous system is made of 2 parts, either brain or spinal cord. 95% of reflexes are handled by the spinal cord. So these sensory neuron takes to the spinal cord or brain, and brain or spinal cord have another different types of neurons which are known as association neuron or relay neurons. They will interpret the information which is brought by the sensory neurons and then they convey to the motor neurons. These motor neurons convey to the effectors. Now what are effectors? Your muscles or glands, and these muscles and glands give response to the stimuli. It is so quick that it takes just 1/10 of a second. If suppose I'm throwing a ball towards me and then there's a blinking of eye. So blinking of eye is the response to the stimulus. And what was the stimulus? Throwing a ball. Is it clear? So stimulus, receptors, brain or spinal cord, effectors and response. And in between there are 3 different types of neurons which are associated here. First, sensory neuron. Now what are sensory neuron? They take the information from receptors to the brain or spinal cord. Second, motor neurons. Motor neurons take the information of brain or spinal cord to the effectors. And third is association neuron, which interprets the information which is brought by the sensory neuron and conveys to the motor neurons. Okay, so this is the path of a reflex arc, and this phenomenon is known as reflex action, which I will discuss in the spinal cord. Now next is, I will just discuss the divisions of nervous system today, and then finally in my next lecture we'll straight away start with the brain. So divisions of nervous system. Nervous system is divided into 2 parts. What are the 2 parts? Central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is again divided into 2 parts, brain and spinal cord. And peripheral nervous system is again divided into 2 parts, the autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is again divided into two parts, sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. And peripheral nervous system was again divided into somatic nervous system. Somatic is again divided into two parts, that is the cranial nerve and the spinal nerve. How many pairs of cranial nerves do we have? We have 12 pairs of cranial nerve. Important. They ask in one marker. And how many spinal nerves do we have? 31 pairs. Okay, so I'll wind up here. So before that, we'll just discuss the one markers again and the dictation. So first write the dictation part. First write dendrites, dendron, cyton, axon, neurotransmitter, acetylcholine, break it, A-C-E-T-Y-L, acetylcholine, C-H-O-L-I-N-E. Write that way. Synapse, one marker mein, it's very important. So please learn the spelling for synapse and learn the definition also. Both are important. Synapse, then you write receptors, effectors, sensory neuron, motor neuron, so and stimulus. So these are few dictation words. Now let us discuss the one markers. One marker mein any change in the external environment, stimulus. Stimulus is acquired by whom? Receptors. Receptors take this stimulus to which part? Brain or spinal cord. What are muscles or gland? Other name for muscle gland. Effectors. What is the response? So these are one markers question which they normally ask. They can ask on the type of neurons also. Name the neuron which carries the stimulus to the central nervous system. That is from receptor to the central nervous system. It is sensory neuron. Okay. Name the neuron which interprets the information between the sensory and motor. That is association neuron or relay neuron. And these one marker question give the tip which acquires the information. So it is dendritic tip. Name the phenomenon here, synapse. So these are few one marker question which they normally ask. Very easy topic. So just practice the diagram of this structure of neuron. Okay, and just learn the definition also. Okay, so I'll wind up my lecture here. See you in my next lecture with brain. So please practice this diagram. I'll teach you to draw the diagram also in my next lecture. So before brain, I think I'll be able to release my video for drawing the diagrams. Okay, till then, stay safe, stay home. Thank you.